Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Winchester Football Weekly. This is week number 2. I'm your host, Patrick Gill, with my brother Jay as a co-host. This is our second season, as we talked about last week. We have a great show tonight. We have the head coach from Winchester High School football, Coach Dembowski. We have, on the Where Are They Now segment, we have Steve Costello from the class of 1982. And the players of the week over here are Tim Mangano, the Winchester High School captain and quarterback for the high school team. We have Cole Potter from the middle school program, and we have John Guthrie from the Winchester Pop Warner, who I have the privilege of coaching this year. And so what we're going to do is start off, we're going to roll some clips of the Pop Warner program's games that were played at Manchester Field at Knowlton Stadium this week. And it was a great day as far as that's concerned. We had a total of 5 games that were played, 2E, 2D, and a C game that were played. We played Wilmington, and the 1E team played Woburn. So it was a great day as far as that goes. They went right from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As far as the scores go, to read those to you now, the E Black battled a strong Wilmington program, but fell 18-0 in the season opener for the Pop Warner program. The team played extremely well, led by Tristan Henning at quarterback and Thomas Hellstrom on defense. They travel to Saugus next week. The entire program, I think, goes to Saugus next week. E-Red held a second half lead against the Woburn E team and had a chance to tie the game on the final play from the 10-yard line in what was the day's most exciting game from start to finish. Frank Shediak led the team defensively, and quarterback Ollie Ramasinghe scored an impressive touchdown for the Red Squad. The D Black raced out to an early lead and never looked back for a 28-12 win over Wilmington. That's the team that Mr. Guthrie plays on over here. They led defensively by Johnny Guthrie, a player of the week at Winchester Pop Warner, as well as Jack Kinsey and Jake Mabardi. Both recovered key fumbles and made impressive tackles all morning for the Sachems. The D-Red won big, beating Wilmington 33-0, behind the touchdowns of quarterback Gus Kraft, as well as a play from standouts Patrick Ross, Johnny Annucci, Andrew Murray, Jacob Flores, and Patrick Dooley all scored for Winchester. The Winchester C team fought hard before finally dropping a close game to Wilmington. Standouts for the Sachems for that game were Peter Collins, Colin Bergstrom, and Lucas Gibois. Sorry if I messed that up. As far as the middle school, they had their Jamboree scrimmage this past weekend. The Jamboree consisted of Winchester, Westwood, Catholic Memorial, and Saugus. It was a scrimmage, so there were no real final scores, but it's safe to say that Winchester dominated 2 out of those 3 games. I believe that Westwood and Saugus were the 2 that they came out on top on. And as far as the high school is concerned, they had a great day against Greater Lowell. They beat Greater Lowell 27-13. They had 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns from Timmy Mangano to George Casey and Joe Natage. And the 2 running touchdowns were was through Costello, John Costello, and Dana Morocco. Which was a nice run into the end zone. So it was a great start for the Winchester football, all in all. I think everyone played well, and it was just a great day. It was great for the high school to get off to a first win right away, to put them in the right direction. They play Melrose this Friday night over at the Lights, right over at Melrose, so hopefully many of you can get over there to support the team. So that's pretty much what we have for scores. I'd like to hurry up and get Coach Dembowski up here. So we have a lot to talk to him about this year because things are going pretty well. Coach, how are you?
Coach, nice to see you.
Thank you very much for coming. Coach, first of all, I know you're busy this week because you have a pretty much short turnaround with Friday night's game. So thank you for coming out. First of all, congratulations on the win against Greater Lowell. Talk to me about that game.
That was a great opening day game for us. Last year we went down to Cardinal Spellman and had a tough day. Saturday we had Timmy Mangano at quarterback. I think at that point against last year at this time, Tim had been in the program for about 8 days. So he came out and was a little not into the system yet. Now this year, we talked about it, we watched some film today. He made some great throws to where he was throwing the ball before receivers broke, and we were executing at a pretty good level. As the boys found out today, we executed well, but not to the point where we wanted to be as a staff, and I don't think the players were happy with some of their performances. I was extremely happy where we got contributions, as you just said earlier, from everybody, scoring-wise, and even on defense. We only had 4 or 5 seniors playing. I think we started 4 seniors on defense, and the other 7, we had a couple sophomores starting in there, and then a couple juniors. So it was a great contribution across the board, and our kicker was a freshman yesterday, or on Saturday.
Oh,
so
he kicked the ball well.
He kicked the ball extremely well. So again, up and down the roster that traveled was a contribution from everybody.
Well, what was most impressive when we look at today's paper, first downs, you dominated the game. More importantly, you dominated. You had 14 first downs. As far as passing yards, it was 187 to 82. Rushing yards was 79 to 83, so that was pretty comparable. But you only punted, I think, once, and you recovered a couple of fumbles. The penalties killed you. You definitely led the team in penalties for sure, but your total offense was 266 to their 165. That's pretty impressive for a day.
I was extremely happy with the outcome. The stats, I'm not too worried about. I'm very disappointed in the penalties because that's a little bit of, we're lazy at times, holding some of the holding calls on offense, and then a couple of the snaps from the center to the quarterback in the shotgun form. That we had a 1st and goal on the 5, and we ended up 3rd and goal from the 33. So those little miscues later in the season will cost us a ball game. Fortunate it didn't on Saturday, but we get a lot to learn watching the film.
Coach, you're going against a Merrill's team, which is a tough Middlesex League team this week. They're always tough. What do you think you have to work on to compete with against Melrose?
Every little aspect of the game. Last year against Melrose, it was 10-6. They scored to make it 17-6, and then we had 2 opportunities to score touchdowns to cut it to 17-13, somewhere in there, and we threw an interception and we fumbled on the 1-yard line. So in order to play a team like that who's extremely fast, we watched some film. The quarterback is excellent. They have a real tough running back in number 32 and 2 excellent skilled kids in number 5 and number 8. So we have to make sure we're sound fundamentally on defense, and then on offense, we have to learn how to finish plays. Our offensive line has to get downfield and attack, and our quarterback has to read coverage in order for us to be successful.
One thing I'd like to get into a little bit is the off-season this past summer. I think it was pretty successful. I think it's starting to show up on the field. Can you talk about the 7-on-7s, the weight training that the kids did, just to kind of get prepared for the season? That's Mango calling him, by the way.
The summertime was a lot of great team building opportunities. We had the opportunity to get into a couple Under Armour shootouts, one at Exeter, New Hampshire, and one at Bishop Fenwick, and then we went to St. Anselm's for a tournament up there, and then we're in the Reading Passing League. So the kids this year got to play in about 22 summer passing league games. And it takes a lot of commitment for those kids to show up on 3 weekends and then every Wednesday night. And it was a great opportunity to work together. Now, we can't coach them, so they did a lot of coaching themselves, and we had a couple parents involved. And just the way they came together and executed. Last year at this time, we had only won, I don't think we won a passing league game. Not that passing league games make a difference, but we ended up, going better than 500 this year. So we knew we were on the right path. It's just we're not quite sure who we are just yet.
Well, I think it also gives the kids a great opportunity to learn, football sense. Being on the field without the coaches, they've got to make some decisions that they, on their own, that they probably wouldn't make. Is that fair to say that when you get them in August, that they're a little bit more prepared than they were if they weren't doing the camp?
I think that's accurate. And again, it comes down to, okay, now they hit a couple bumps in the summertime. How do they respond to each other? Is there any fighting amongst each other about who's doing what role, or are they starting to communicate? And by the end of this summer, we started to communicate a little better, and there was less of the snipping, I guess, would be the best word, at each other. And they said, no, we got to do this, and they really worked at it, which was great.
Yeah, Coach, I noticed when I went to the game Saturday, you had a lot of new coaches. Can you talk about your staff?
We do have some new coaches. We added Joe Curran. He was at Concord Carlisle last year, and they were in the Super Bowl. He comes on board, and he's helping with the linebackers and running backs, and he brings a little bit of maturity. We brought back a kind of a town favorite, Joe Maroney.
Jumpin' Joe.
And he is great with the kids.
He is.
He loves the kids. He loves Winchester. He's all about Winchester, and that's been a fantastic addition. And then one of my longtime friends in the coaching world, Todd Nestor, who was my secondary coach at AIC, was my coordinator at UMass Lowell. He's come on board and has added just a wealth of knowledge on defense. Yeah. And can't substitute any of those three. So it's been fantastic.
Real quick, I just want to get into the weight training that the kids did, because they also committed to that earlier this year for the summer.
They did, and it was good. I still think we can get it better going forward. I really would like to get 35, 40 guys involved instead of 20, 25. Andy Carr did a great job of running the program. It was kind of a last minute put together because we had some other plans going that fell through. And then Tommy Carr, who's the offensive coordinator for us, he also helped his brother. And, I'd get down there and see the kids run and lift. And we had a great turnout by the younger groups. Yeah. So it's building.
I know we made some improvements to the weight room. Do you feel we still have to go to the next level to really get the program going for all, not just football, for all the users, sport groups?
I think as you travel around and look at all the different high schools, they all have their own little footprint. And I know as just even a fitness room and a strength and conditioning room, it would be in the best interest to upgrade some of the things. A lot of it's all brand new, but there isn't quite enough to put 30 people in there at a time to really work on certain aspects.
All right. Well, Coach, I do appreciate you coming out. I know you're busy. You got to get ready for Melrose, which is again Friday night. So I hope all of you can, take your kids down there on Friday night down to Melrose and come out and watch the kids play. Because I think I know the kids are excited. I know some of the parents in the stands are also. It's nice to hear them talking because they've got a little bit of a jump in their step this year. You can see it even with the parents. They're excited to see how this plays out. So
we're all excited. I mean, I can't wait to get back to the office here and get going. But the kids are excited. The coaches are excited. Now we got to come up Friday night and give us our best effort because they're a heck of a football team.
Yeah, most importantly, we're ahead of Woburn this year right now. That's all that matters.
I'm worried about one game.
No, I get it.
No,
that's your job.
That's all.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Next, what we have in this part of the program is Where Are They Now? Lifelong family, the Costello family has been around for years, and both Jay and I had the privilege to play and go to high school with Stephen Costello from 1982. Steve, come on up.
Steve, welcome. Nice to see you, buddy.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hey,
Nice to
Steve,
see
how
you
are
guys.
you? I'll brag for Steve a little bit here. Steve was a running back, and we were D-back in high school as well?
Yep.
Of course he was.
He used to
And-
play both ways back then.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he was a few things. He was a Middlesex League All-Star. He also played in the Gaines All-Star and the Shriners All-Star. And his years at Winchester High School led to a scholarship to the University of Maine, where he was a defensive back and he did kickoff returns and had a kickoff return for a touchdown up at UMaine. So, Steve, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. One of the
Great to be here.
questions I like to ask is to have have yourself talk about your high school experience, what it meant to you, the fun you had, what it did for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for everybody, all these kids in the room here that are going to, step up tonight, it's just been a fantastic part of my life. The whole town of Winchester, and it's nice to see it kind of coming back to when we played back then, because I mean everything was such a critical part of Winchester was the football program, and I think everybody really felt that. So for me growing up, I was one of the last people to play on the Pop Warner team before they closed that program. As you know, different interests kind of took over and kids had different options. Football became less and less of a big thing in Winchester. But just in terms of, you know, having it be a part of my life, it's been fantastic. You know, just great team memories of everything that we did in high school was tremendous. And then just from really everywhere that I've lived in the country, lived in Texas for a number of years, and talk about being in a football town. I mean, Plano East, some of the largest high school football you'd ever want to see, and that to me was like, you know, amazing to be able to see and be a part of that while I was down there. But you know, now it's great because I do have the ability to come back. You know, even though I live down the Cape, I'm here all the time, so I get to be involved with a lot of the things that Mango does and does for the town of Winchester that he's done so incredibly much for over the last, you know, 15, 20 years. So to have that connection for me personally, having graduated with him and been a co-captain of his, that's really been fantastic. So, you know, these guys will, you know, cherish the moments that they play at Winchester just like we all did. And, you know, guys you run into, you still have that special bond and, you know, you have a connection immediately, you know, regardless of where you've been in your life.
I also like to have you talk about your transition to the high school. Timmy, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think you have thoughts of playing football in college. And, you know, talk about that experience. You were recruited,
right.
You went through the process, and you were successful at the next level. So please talk about that.
You know, it's definitely, it's funny because so many kids that play, you know, watch sports on TV and think, oh yeah, I can be a professional football player. And so many parents think, yeah, my kid can play hockey, my kid can do this. The reality is very, very few kids, you know, have the ability to get to that level. And it's a lot different now than when we were kids. A lot of the coaches did, you know, some promoting for you, and a lot of the coaches that were out there, you know, aggressively came and scoured the different leagues looking for players. Now I think there's a lot more self-promotion, but the reality is just the level of competition that kids are playing at this day and age, it's just incredible. I mean, I would have loved to have had all the, you know, the tools and resources among the, you know, the training facilities and the 7-on-7 camps that these kids have the ability to do. Right. I mean, there was none of that when we were, you know, in high school. So I think, you know, having the ability to prepare and then being able to prepare, and then, you know, once you do take that next step, I don't want to say it loses some of its fun, but it loses something just in terms of, you know, the game turns, and it's a lot different when you're on a scholarship and you're playing a game that, you know, you love, but still it really does take up a lot more of your time, and it does seem like a job at times. So you just have to be fully committed, and there's no room for excuses on any football field, but especially in college when you get there, I mean, you got to be ready to play and you got to be ready to show up every day. Otherwise, there's somebody looking to take you down. So.
Right. You know, I'd like to talk about, I always ask the people who come back about the Winchester-Woburn game. And I was a junior, you were a senior. I think you played out in front of a pretty large crowd.
Yep.
Talk about that experience. You beat Woburn.
It was, yeah. It was a great win. I can't say it was a great game for me personally. It's like, I think the only game I didn't score a touchdown in, so that hurt me. I'd obviously love to score a touchdown against Woburn. Had we had that turf field that they have today, I think it would have been an entirely different game because
it was frozen.
It was absolutely frozen. We came out with
sneakers and then changed to cleats.
Sneakers and then cleats, and then it was just mud and an inch of mud and then complete sheet of ice underneath that. So it was just slip sliding away the whole entire game. I think we ended up winning, 8-6 or something like that. So still a good feeling, no question about it.
I just have one question. Brian Carroll's been going around town for many years saying he's a better running back than you. And I know this has been going on for years and years. I was thinking maybe both you and him can have like a 40-yard dash this Thanksgiving. We'll film this.
I'll race him in a 40-yard
Okay,
dash,
I'll set that up, all right?
If that settles it, then I'll feel good about that.
Okay,
but
good.
I don't know what his stats were in high school. I'm sure he was a good player. He clearly, idolized me. He took my number, and
he did take your number.
So that goes a long way. He felt like a little brother to me. Right. So he was always around the house. So,
one last question I have. It's kind of nice that, like I said, you come from a large family in town, and you have not only did you play with your brothers, but now you have the opportunity to hear about your nephews.
Yeah.
By the way, your
Tell me
nephew had a good game Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I heard. You know, living on the Cape, I don't have the ability to be around, you know, every single day and game. But you know, I love the fact that there are Costellos still playing football in Winchester. That to me is a fantastic thing. You know, I have all daughters, so even though they were athletic and enjoyed playing sports, there's definitely something about, you know, a Costello playing football in Winchester that, you know, is an excellent thing to continue that tradition. So hopefully they're gonna work hard and do well like they've already had so far. So that's great.
Well, I appreciate your time. I want to get these boys up here.
All right,
But
Patrick.
obviously, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for giving
Appreciate
up your
it.
time.
Not at all.
Thanks, Stephen. Always a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thanks, boys. Come on
We'll
up.
see you this year. Thank you.
We have to get microphones on. Oh, we're going to share a microphone, Jay?
Share a microphone. yeah.
Okay. Who we have here, first of all, to my immediate right is Timmy Mangano. He's the varsity quarterback and captain for the varsity team this year. I have Cole Potter, who's playing in the middle school. He's a tight end and outside linebacker. And then Mr. Guthrie over there, who plays a couple things, but he's playing linebacker for me on defense, and then he plays on the line for me on offense. So, boys, thank you very much for coming. And Timmy, I'm going to start with you first. First of all, congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
To talk about Tim a little bit, he went 13 for 21, had 178 yards, and he threw for 2 touchdown passes in his first game as a senior. So congratulations. Tell me about it. Tell me about your win. It was a great game.
Well, it started off a little slow. I think it was first game nerves, everyone ready to go because high expectations for the season. Last year we only had 3 kids who had ever started in a varsity game. Now we got a bunch of kids ready to go, ready to start. And then started off slow, but I think that 48-second drive we had to end the first half really got people going.
Very
So-
impressive. I was going to ask about that. Is you know, they went down 7. You were down 7-0. You had 48 seconds left to halftime. Things weren't looking good. You had gotten some penalties
Yep.
that prevented you. Tell me about that drive. That drive was very impressive. You had a number of passes. You had to get out of bounds, timeouts. How much have you guys worked on that this year?
We did it a couple times. We definitely did it our last practice before the last game. We did a quick 2-minute drill. We went up and down the field a couple of times. Kids, and it was a good thing we worked on it too, because kids didn't know to get out of bounds. And then getting into the game, everyone was getting out of bounds. We call them. If I had to call the play, make sure play's going to the outside. So
Yeah, no, it was very impressive. It was a great opportunity for you guys to come back and tie that game. It switched the momentum right away.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it really was. So I'm going to have you pass the microphone on to Cole. Cole, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So tell us about your background with football. How many years have you been playing?
Well, this is my 3rd year. I played 1 year in the Pop Warner team, and that was the first year I was there. And then I played a year last year with.
So this is your 2nd year with Coach Manganaro.
Yes.
So how did you do last year?
Last year I did pretty good, but I wasn't as aggressive as I am this year. I was a lot more tentative,
Sure.
less going towards the ball.
I was going to ask you, do you feel a lot more confident this year opposed to last year when you were first playing?
Yeah, because I kind of understand the game more and understand that the linebackers got to make the big hit.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, that's great. Now, you had a scrimmage, you had a jamboree this weekend. How did it go?
It went pretty good. Our first game against Westwood started out. We didn't the first few plays were a lot of yardage. We weren't tackling well. We needed to get onto the ball more, and then we picked it up on offense and defense and had more stops and more touchdowns. And then the other 2 games were the second game was pretty passive. It was like a low-scoring game,
Sure.
and then the 3rd game was like the first.
Great. I'm going to have you pass the microphone on to Mr. Guthrie over there. John, how are you?
Good.
Good. First of all, you had a great game yesterday. You had 7 solo tackles and a caused fumble. So you played great. Congratulations. Tell me about your experience in Pop Warner. How has it been? This is your how many?
3rd year.
3rd year? So you played E's and then 2 years of D's,
Yes.
right? So how's it going for you? How do you like it?
Well, I like it a lot, and I sort of feel bad that they shut down the program a long time ago, but
Yeah.
it started.
I like to think it was 4 years ago, but it wasn't. It was a long
Time ago. Yeah.
So, what's your experience so far this year? You've had preseason and you've had your couple of
I
scrimmages.
think that we're going to have a good team this year, and we're going to get pretty far.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to do. You guys play well as a team. That's for sure. You're learning the game. I notice now that you're asking some very intelligent questions this year. Do you feel that now being your third year that you've gained a lot of confidence in where you're supposed to be on the field?
A lot.
Yeah, you feeling pretty comfortable about it? Well, I'm going to give the microphone back to Timmy. I'd like to ask him a couple more questions. Now, Tim, I had the privilege of watching him play Woburn Pop Warner before our program came back, and I always like to, kind of pay it forward or pay it down. Why don't you give Cole and John some advice? They've come from Pop Warner Middle School up to high school. What's Cole? Cole, you're coming up to the high school next year, right? So what's he got to have to do between this year and next year? What advice do you have for him?
Well, the most important thing is to definitely, in the off season, just work hard, make sure you lift, eat food. I didn't eat a lot of food, and the I did, but I wish I could have been a lot bigger. But all you got to do is work hard, and it'll all come together. Make sure everyone's doing it.
Now, what about as far as, trying out for different positions? I know you've played, last year you played defense because you hurt your thumb. What's that like? Because you have a lot of kids trying out for, obviously, skilled positions, but, what's that like to have to go through those tryouts to try to make, to make it as a high school, not only varsity, but captain? But
Well, it's obviously tough because you got a lot of kids that want to play the position, but as long as when you're doing sprints and everything, you're the first guy. Make sure you're running as hard as you can. If the coach knows that you're working hard and you're going hard 100% every time running to the ball, trust me, he'll notice you.
all right, why don't you pass it on to Cole? Cole, I'm going to ask you to give advice to John, who next year, what grade are you in, John? Fifth. So next year, he will probably play C, but the year afterwards, he's going to be right where you are. What's that transition like from Pop Warner up to middle school?
Well, it's a lot different. Like, there's a little more organized. It's a lot faster paced, and you gotta wrap up your tackles a lot better. Kids are gonna be faster. They're gonna break more tackles. So you gotta really focus on, if you're gonna be an offensive player, then you gotta get your blocking down, because that's like going up through middle school. That's the most important thing for an offensive player, is to block. And on defense, it's really on taking your shuffle steps and then wrapping up.
All right, John, last year as a football player, you made the playoffs, didn't you?
Last year, yeah.
Yes. So what advice would you have for for Tim here about, hopefully, if he goes on to play a big game where everything's on the line?
Well, you always want to play hard, give it all you got. Even if you don't win, give it all you got. Try to win, try to beat them. Run as hard as you can, throw the ball as far as you can, and hope that they can catch the ball.
That's great. Hey, being Players of the Week, I just wanted to let you know you get free pizza at Gloria's Pizza, so make sure you bring your friends.
Yep.
All right, so that's part of
All
being
you have
Player
to
of the
do
Week.
is say I was Player of the Week, and then
All
you
right.
get a free pizza. So I really do appreciate you guys coming out. I know you guys all have busy schedules with homework kicking in, and you're playing sports. So thank you very
Thank you
much
very
for
much,
coming.
guys.
Good luck Friday
Good
night.
luck.
Can't wait to see it. I look forward to it. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it, Cole.
Good job,
Take care.
Good job. Good job, guys. Good job.
See you tomorrow. Good job. Anyway, just to wrap up a little bit, it was a great, successful week for Winchester football all around. The Pop Warner they had a home game. They were down at the field all day, and they absolutely killed it. Wilmington is one of the longest running programs in Pop Warner, and it's safe to say that Winchester dominated them.
Right.
Even if they didn't win some things, they